Hi guys, it's Maddie. Welcome. Obviously, this video looks a lot different from the types of videos that I usually post, but I feel with everything going on in the world right now that it's important for me to use my largest platform, which is my YouTube channel, to speak on this topic. So right now when I'm filming this, it is Monday, June 1st. I'm gonna try to get this up later today. Over the last weekend and last week, there was just such a huge outpour of anger and sadness and frustration about the murder of George Floyd and racism and police brutality. I think it's great to see so many people taking to social media and talking about it, so I really just want to make this video to continue the conversation. I fear that this could become another case where people kind of stop caring after a few days and just move on with their lives, and I think it's really important to not let that happen and to just keep people talking and keep people fighting about this issue, because it's not just gonna go away. So I just didn't feel right posting like a vlog talking about like fashion and skincare or whatever right now, because there's just much bigger issues at hand. So don't worry, I'll get back to posting my normal content really soon, but it's just important for me to make this video. And obviously I am white and I can only speak from my perspective and share my thoughts and my feelings. I will never try to speak on behalf of Black people because I will never understand their experience. All I can do is share my own perspective and use my platform to spark conversations about important topics, and I always try to be super careful and thoughtful about the words that I choose when talking about anything, but especially topics as delicate as this. So please just hear what I have to say and listen from start to finish. And I feel like if I can't use my platform to talk about things that really matter, then what is the point of even having a platform? So I have some notes on my phone that I might refer back to throughout the video, but I really just want to chat and have a conversation and just share my thoughts on everything going on in the world right now. So, as we know, George Floyd was murdered last week on May 25th by a police officer, while 3 other police officers stood there and watched and let it happen. Yes, the police officer that directly murdered Floyd by pushing his head into the ground with his knee was arrested, but that was only after so much pressure had been put on the justice system for days through the outrage on social media. And it's now been a week since this happened, and the 3 other officers that allowed it to happen and witnessed the entire thing without stopping it have yet to be arrested. So that's why we can't stop fighting, especially on social media, because that is the only way that justice is going to be served for George Floyd, and the other 3 officers can get arrested and all 4 of them be given the sentence that they deserve. Obviously, the killing of Black people and the abuse of Black people from powerful police officers is nothing new, and it's really just one part of the overarching issue that is racism. As a white person, I recognize that I have so much privilege just because of the color of my skin. I will never begin to imagine what it feels like to be Black in America, and I will never have the same experience or the same relationship with a police officer that a Black person has. I've never had to go out of my way to not look suspicious or not look guilty in front of a police officer. I've always been taught that if you are in danger and you need help, that police officers are who you call. I've never felt that a police officer would do anything other than protect me, and that is my privilege. Not everyone can say that. So if you are white and you don't recognize that privilege, then we need to go back and start there, because I think step 1 is recognizing your privilege and recognizing that there is a problem. I mean, if you can watch those videos of George Floyd being murdered and not see the problem, I just don't understand. And that is just one example. There are so many of those videos and so many pictures. It's never ending. So then, as a white person who does recognize that they have so much privilege, what can I do to help and to actually contribute to making a difference and moving things forward? I think the next really big step is educating yourself, and this is an ongoing process, but educating yourself allows you to have more elevated conversations with people about what's going on in the world. Also, I just want to note that I totally understand if you are someone that is white and you're not used to having these types of political conversations, that it can be really intimidating. I totally get that. Because it is such a delicate subject, you really don't want to say the wrong thing. You don't want to come across as ignorant. You don't want to offend anyone. I totally get that. So some people just shut down and avoid the conversation altogether. But I saw a post on Instagram that really said it perfectly, and that is that it's no longer enough for us to just be not racist. We have to be actively anti-racist to actually make a difference. I'm actually pretty used to having conversations like this because of where I grew up. In the town that I grew up in New Jersey, it is extremely diverse. I moved there at the start of my 8th grade, and I've just always been taught to celebrate diversity. So throughout high school, we were always so political, and we were always encouraged to speak up for what is right, and we would protest all the time, and we were just always encouraged to have those conversations that might be a little more difficult. And I remember we had this club at my high school. It was called Diversity Rocks, and they would host these like open forums after school where so many students would show up and just have open conversations about topics like racism or other topics too, like gender and sexual orientation and just social issues like that. It was the best, but sometimes I have to check myself because living where I grew up was a bubble in and of itself, and literally you can drive 10 minutes over to the town next door and things were completely different. Like lack of diversity, blatant racism. It was crazy how different two towns that are 10 minutes away from each other could be. So even though I am so grateful for growing up where I did, I have to remind myself that not everyone grew up in a community where conversations about racism were so common and so encouraged. So if you are someone that feels like you need to help but you're nervous to have those types of conversation and you don't really know where to start, I would say just looking into resources that will help you further educate yourself is really the first step. And knowledge is power, truly, and there's like no better feeling than being able to have a high-level conversation with someone about a topic and actually feel like you know what you're talking about and like have facts to back yourself up. There's literally nothing better than that. So education is everything. I posted a ton of resources on my Instagram stories and I saved them to a highlight on my Instagram. They were all suggestions from you guys. So there was a ton of books, documentaries, podcasts. There's just so much information out there, and I just think that we should never stop learning, but especially about topics that are this important. Educate yourself, please. That way you're really equipped to have conversations with your peers and actually know what you're talking about. Also, it's so important right now to check in with your Black friends and just ask them how they're doing, because once again, as white people, we will never be able to feel the way that they're feeling about this topic. So just check in. How are you doing? How are you feeling? And just listen to them, listen to their feelings, validate their feelings, and like all we can really do right now is be supportive and listen. So that's also super, super important. Also, talk to your families and have conversations with your parents or your grandparents or your aunts and uncles. I know we all come from different backgrounds. We all have different family situations. I am super lucky because my parents are really open-minded and I've never felt weird about being like, hey, how do you guys feel about what's going on in the world? And I know some people come from more closed-minded families or more conservative families where maybe you're not used to having conversations about social issues. So I totally get that it can be intimidating because that's your family and you don't want to bring up stuff that could cause an argument. But I think if that describes your situation, it's even more important for you guys to bring up this topic, because it's probably not something that they have heard that many perspectives about. So all you can do is educate your family, have the conversations, bring up the topics, and just normalize having these tough conversations. That's all we can really do, and maybe you'll help change their perspective a little bit for the better. And of course, if you are able to donate, that is super important right now. I also shared a ton of organizations on my Instagram stories where you guys can donate, and I will also list a bunch in the description down below. I know times are really tough financially right now, but if you have anything to spare, there's no amount too small. And also, I turned monetization on this video because I'm going to donate all of the AdSense money that I make from this video to some of the organizations down below. Yeah, donations are super important, and if you haven't already signed the petition, you should have by now, but I will also link that down below for you guys to sign. That is super important. And then I also want to talk about the protesting and all of the crazy stuff going on right now, which honestly feels like a whole other topic to unpack. I woke up this morning like really angry and just ranty, and so I wrote down some just bullet points in my notes of just like my thoughts on all the protesting going on. And I've still been seeing so many posts on Instagram of like, violence isn't the answer, and just not backing up the protesters. So I hope that my explanation and perspective can kind of help you understand where the protesters are coming from. So my first point was just that protesting is not the same as rioting, and protesting is not the same as looting. So it's just important to differentiate those. And then second, the majority of the protests that happened over the last weekend were peaceful, or at least started with peaceful intentions. There was a big protest in Newark, New Jersey, which is like right next to me, and it was huge and was 100% peaceful. And Newark is a predominantly Black community, and there were literally police officers marching alongside the people, and it was just really beautiful and really effective and was completely peaceful. But I feel like I didn't really see much, if any, coverage in the media of that protest. It's just important to note that there are peaceful protests going on, and like 99% of protests started with peaceful intentions. The problem is when peaceful, unarmed protesters are met with aggressive police officers that are tear gassing and shooting rubber bullets and pepper spraying and tasing and literally ramming their police cars into crowds of people, then what do you expect the protesters to do? Like, really put yourself into the shoes of those protesters and think, what would you do? How would you react? Would you just stand there and take it peacefully and calmly? That's literally like if someone was punching you and punching you and punching you and punching you, and then finally you decide to punch back and they're like, whoa, why are you getting violent? Like, that's the same thing. Do I wish for violence or wish for people, innocent people, to get hurt or for businesses to be destroyed? Absolutely not. It makes me so sad, and it just hurts my heart so much that I know so many of you guys are probably in neighborhoods where protests are going on outside of your homes and you don't feel safe and you feel very scared right now, and that makes me so sad. That's not what I'm assuming any of the protesters want right now. The problem is that people have been peacefully protesting racism and police brutality for years. Like, literally MLK's whole movement was to fight racism with peace and just with your words and your presence and not using violence. But that was the 1960s, and now it's 2020 and the same shit is happening. Like, people are still getting killed. Innocent people are still getting killed because of the color of their skin. So if protesters feel that they need to resort to violence or vandalism or stealing, then I can understand it. As a white person, it is not my place to tell Black people how to protest or how to grieve or just how to fight back. Also very important to note that a lot of the vandalism and the looting that's going on is not being done by Black people. I have seen so many videos of non-Black people spray painting the walls of businesses and stealing and breaking into the mall. And it's really disgusting because then on the media we see the aftermath of this and everyone assumes that like, whoa, those protesters got out of control, but really it was just non-Black people that are just taking advantage of the situation, and it's really, really sad. Overall, my argument is that if you care more about businesses being ruined or things being stolen than Black lives being ended, then you need to reevaluate, because things can be replaced, buildings can be rebuilt, but people can't be brought back to life. As sad and as scary as it is seeing all of these riots and violence break out across our country, it's not bigger than the actual issue at hand and the issue that they're fighting for. I'm gonna wrap this video up because I didn't want it to be too long. I really wanted people to watch through to the end, but I just ended up rambling. So I hope that everything that I said was clear, and if anything, I'm just happy to spark this conversation. I encourage you guys to have conversations in the comment section down below, but please just keep everything respectful and listen to what people have to say and listen to different perspectives and just be kind. I feel like what the world really needs most right now is just more kindness, so please keep that in mind. Like I said, I'll get back to posting my regular content soon, but it's just not what feels right now, and there are more important issues at hand. Thank you guys so much for watching, especially if you made it all the way here to the end. It really means so much to me. Also, it's June, it's Pride Month, so let's not forget about that and support your LGBTQ plus communities, especially your Black LGBTQ plus communities. So yeah, happy Pride. And yeah, I hope you guys are all staying safe, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye.